Hi friends, welcome to Meals with Maria. Today we are cooking with all the things, at least in my area, that are on sale for 99 cents a pound. I've got prices going down a little bit, which is a good thing. Of course, your miles may vary, but we have some great chicken deals. We know that apples are in season, at least around here, so those are less expensive. So I have some great fall themed meals for you around everything that is 99 cents a pound, so they're super cheap and less than $5. You're gonna love them.
We're going to start off with a lovely chicken and squash dinner. We're making this in just one pan and are going to be able to use 99 cents a pound chicken thighs and 99 cents a pound butternut squash. So this is so inexpensive. The whole dinner came to less than $5. I have a pretty small butternut squash here. I also think you could use any squash that you had or, hey, a neighbor gave you or you were able to get on sale. You just want to dice this up into cubes, kind of like potatoes. And then I am going to cut up a couple of onions because I love onion in mine, but you totally don't have to do that. You can use onion powder if you need to, just about a teaspoon. And then I'm going to throw 10 whole cloves of garlic in there. You do not have to do that, but it does roast up amazing. And I serve mine with biscuits, and I was able to actually just take the roasted garlic and rub it right over a biscuit, and it was so delicious. That's one of those things that feels so indulgent and gourmet, yet it's actually like pennies on the dollar. It's so cheap to make. I'm also adding 6 chicken thighs to the bowl, and you could do chicken legs, drumsticks if you have them. You could do chicken leg quarters. Whatever you have is going to work here, especially the cheaper the better, right? And then to that you want to add 3 tablespoons of olive oil, about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm using 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And if you want to, you can just use regular paprika if you don't like the smoked. And a sprinkle of crushed chili peppers if you'd like. And then the recipe calls for fresh thyme, but I didn't have that, so I used about a teaspoon of dried thyme. This is a very simple yet flavorful seasoning, and you just want to mix everything really well together. I just love using just one bowl for this just to make sure that everything gets well coated. It worked really, really well. And then you just want to pour everything onto a well-coated sheet pan. So I just used mine that had a baking mat on it, but you can use parchment paper or you could use tin foil, whatever you want to just cover it up and make sure that this doesn't stick to the bottom of your pan. You want to bake this at 375 degrees for 1 hour. And the recipe says to then increase the heat to 425 and bake for another 10 to 20 minutes. But at the hour mark, my chicken was super golden, fully cooked through, so I did not need to do that. With this, I just served some take and bake super cheap Aldi biscuits. And like I said, I was able to rub the garlic over that. Oh my goodness, it was so delicious. This is such a inexpensive, wonderful fall meal. And I feel like if you ever get chicken at a restaurant, for me at least, it's dry. This is so juicy and fabulous. It is just such a winner. For this next one, we're going to use the 99 cents a pound chicken to make Ina's roasted chicken. And instead of carrots, I'm going to use sweet potatoes because those are also on sale this time of year. And so are carrots. Carrots are delicious too. But I wanted to use sweet potatoes because that's what I had on hand. So always think use what you have on hand, right? I'm also noting a color aesthetic here. We have very orangey golden colors, which makes sense. Those are fall colors. And it makes sense that the food is that fall color too. You can see this chicken is actually from my freezer. I had bought it on sale in April, and it was time to use it, but I did get it on sale for 99 cents a pound. It's a rather small chicken coming in at less than 3 pounds, so it was only $2.92. We can make this whole dinner, again, for less than $5. I'm using the sweet potatoes because that's what I had on hand, but you can get carrots for less than 99 cents a pound these days, and you can just chop those up and throw those in there. I decided to chop my potatoes into half circles and make them a little bit bigger than I have in the past, because the last time I made this recipe with carrots, the carrots actually burnt because it was cooking at a high temperature. So you do want to consider that if you are cooking carrots, either add them later if they're small, or if they're bigger, just cut them into large chunks. I also cut an onion into wedges and put the potatoes and the onion in a bottom of a 13x9, but if you have a roasting pan, you can put them in there too. And then my chicken was so small. The original recipe says to use a whole lemon and cut it in half. Obviously, if you don't have it, that's fine. You can squeeze some lemon juice in the cavity of the chicken if you can. If not, that's going to work fine too. And then I do have 1 whole head of garlic, and I cut that in half. Again, if you don't have it, you can just do garlic powder. It's totally fine. But what I was saying about the lemon is I could only use half because only half of it actually fit into the chicken. And then you could see that I was taking 2 tablespoons of butter and I'm just microwaving that and melting it down. You can melt down, or you can even use just olive oil or whatever oil you have to if you don't have fresh butter. Chickens are pretty forgiving like that, which is very nice. I'm just going to pat my chicken dry and then cover it thoroughly with salt and pepper. You also want to make sure to get the salt and pepper into the cavity of the chicken. And I forgot to say, obviously, and maybe it's not obvious, but remove the giblets or whatever else is inside the chicken. You want to make sure that it has an empty cavity. You don't want to cook it with any of those things in there, but liberally with salt and pepper all over, cover that chicken, season it up. You're going to want lots of flavor in there. And then we're going to stuff it with, like I said, mine only fit 1 lemon. If yours is a little bit larger, go ahead and put both halves of the lemon in there, and then your head of garlic. And then the recipe calls for fresh thyme, but I didn't have that, so I just was using a sprinkle of dried thyme and just putting that all inside of the cavity of the chicken as well. And then I'm just going to brush the outside of the chicken with the butter and make sure that it's fully covered. It's nice because once you put the butter on the cold chicken, it actually hardens kind of onto the chicken, and then it makes this sticky surface. And we're going to put more salt and pepper on the outside of the chicken, so it gives it even more flavor. This butter does a lot for it. This is my favorite chicken roasting recipe. I find that it's never dry. It is always so flavorful. It is always so juicy, which is amazing. So I don't know if it's the butter. I don't know if it's the fact that you're putting lots of salt and pepper. I don't know if it's the thyme. Whatever it is so good and so worth it. Then I'm just going to toss my sweet potatoes and onion with some olive oil, more salt and pepper, and more dried thyme. Toss that well, and then place the chicken right on top of your veggies. And we're going to put this in the oven for an hour and a half at 425 degrees. And I thought my chicken was going to cook a lot faster because it's quite a bit smaller. You see, I actually did tuck my wings under. I kind of forgot to show you guys that, but you want to try and tuck the wings under. The recipe also says to tie the legs up, but I didn't have any kitchen tie, and I really never do that, and I think it turns out fine, so personal opinion. And you want to cook that for that hour and a half at 425 until the juices run clear. You want to make sure that the temperature on the chicken is 165 degrees or more, and your vegetables should be roasted all the way through. And you can see how beautiful this is. It really did actually roast for the hour and a half. I was surprised, but it was so incredible, so flavorful. There's nothing like cooking sweet potatoes, or in the other recipe, the butternut squash, kind of in those chicken juices. It tastes amazing. I just served mine with super cheap microwave peas, and this was such a lovely fall meal, so inexpensive, and again, it feels gourmet. It just feels so warm, so amazing. Another thing that I have been seeing for 99 cents a pound or less is totes of apples. So I wanted to make these delicious cinnamon apple oatmeal muffins. I'm going to start by getting my ingredients ready. So I'm just going to melt 1 tablespoon of butter, peel my apple, and chop it. Yes, we're only using 1 apple. I was so excited. I'm like, yes, I found a great apple recipe. And then I look at it and I'm like, yep, we're going to use 1 apple. And as that is with so many fruit recipes, like when you have fruit in the summer, anytime when you have fruit and you're trying to bake with it because you have an excess, it's hard to use all of it. The only thing I think that really uses a lot of it is if you're making jam or jellies or sauces. Luckily, we are using the rest of our totes these days because I am dicing up apples or slicing up apples for my kids every single day. I'm like, this is the fruit we're having because it's in season. I feel like all the best muffins come with a crumble or a topping. So we're going to make the topping first by taking that 1 tablespoon of melted butter, mixing that with a 1/4 cup of quick oats, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can set that aside, and we'll start by mixing our dry ingredients: 1.5 cups of quick cooking oats, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I will make sure to put this recipe in the description box below along with the other 2 recipes so that you can go look at them if you want to. I know there's a lot of ingredients there, but luckily these are all things that I already had on hand because I have a stocked pantry and there were not any specialty ingredients that I needed to go out and buy. Now in a separate bowl, I'm going to mix my wet ingredients: 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 large egg. You would mix that together and also mix your dry ingredients together if you haven't already done that, and then mix all of it together, and that's going to make your delicious muffin batter. And you want to also put your apples in, obviously, so fold those in once everything is really well mixed. And if you noticed, if you have a keen eye and you were really paying attention, you noticed that I actually forgot to put the cinnamon in at the beginning in the dry ingredients. So I did add that at the end because I realized there was something had gone awry. Now this recipe makes 12 muffins. I did decide to use muffin cups for mine. You just want to fill them. It said 3/4 of the way full. It was almost like completely full. And then top them with that kind of streusel topping. And we're going to bake these at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. And I wanted to show you guys these beautiful sunflowers my husband brought me because I wasn't feeling well this past couple weeks, and they're just gorgeous. Too pretty not to share, right? Just a little something to brighten your day and brighten everybody's day. These muffins turned out amazing. They're so good. They're not super sweet. They're so delicious with coffee. Personally, I don't love like a lot of sugar in something, and it's something that makes you kind of feel like a little bit healthier, a little bit better. It only has that 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and that's it. So it is just fabulous as it is. The apples give it tons of flavor, and I love that little crunchy topping on there. I want to thank you so much for being here today and watching. I hope you got some great inspiration to use those fall sales and make some delicious food. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Consider doing that. We're pushing almost 40,000 now, which is just incredible and amazing, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. This is such an incredible community, and I'm so eternally grateful. If you want some more fall inspiration, make sure to click on this video right here to get some more amazing budget recipes.